Welcome to Wine Library TV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk, and this, my friends, is The Thunder Show, aka the internet's most passionate wine program. Mott was mad at me because I started a second too early, and let's just get right to the chase. Definitely, clearly, this is the most important guest in Wine Library TV history. I apologize to Dick Vermeil, the coach, and all the other various characters we've had, but the person sitting to my right now is a legend in this industry, a person I grew up reading from the early 15, 16-year-old days. As you can see, multiple books, and there's... How many books have you read?
I don't know. I've lost
But just tell them. Don't be bad.
I don't know. 20 maybe? Yeah.
I mean, this is, when I think about wine critics, first and foremost, it's Robert Parker, Jancis Robinson. Those are immediately the two things I think about. I am real pumped up. I really, really wish that, everybody could understand how excited I am right now.
They always understand that you're excited, Gary. Yeah.
She sung me early, Mott. And we're very, very lucky to have you here. So, Jancis, thank you so much for being here.
It's fascinating. I'm thrilled to be here.
I appreciate
Have a look at Wine Library itself. Yeah.
Thank you. Please tell the Vaniacs, the tens of thousands of people that are watching right now, a little bit about yourself for all the people who might not know who you are, which...
I'm a very old wine writer. I've been writing about wine since 1975.
That was the year I was born.
I know, it's amazing. It's a bit frightening. I've just met Gary's father, who's younger than I am, which is very, very, very sad.
But you look way, way younger.
And my office is slightly tidy, very slightly tidier than his. I suppose I'm a master of wine. I was the first person outside the wine trade who passed the Master of Wine exams. That was back in '84 when I was expecting our second child, and he turned out to be the one of the three who's the most interested in wine. I write daily for my website, which has been going since 2000, jancisrobinson.com.
Mott, link that up. We have a little link there. Please check this out. We were talking a little bit about it.
I write weekly for the Financial Times. I'm the Financial Times wine correspondent. And I write bi-monthly for a syndicated column which goes to publications in every continent. And I'm responsible for two of the sort of major wine reference books, Oxford Companion to Wine and with Hugh Johnson, The World Atlas of Wine. And those big things have to be kept up to date, which is such a lot of work, as you can imagine. Because
is it a drag?
Well, it is, yes. But what's not a drag is when people obviously really, really enjoy the books and respect the books.
I'm sorry to interrupt. People always ask me a book or two, and so Mott, let's link up another thing. We're gonna get Mott busy today. Let's link this book up because honestly, at the end of the day, it's a must-have. And so. Holiday season's coming around. This is the definite must-have. I'm sure if you send it to London, she'll sign it and send it back to you. It'll probably cost you $100 in shipping.
It is actually online for people who are members of my site. They can get the
whole thing downloaded.
The whole of the Oxford Companion online.
Sneaky.
Not
sneaky. I'm using my site. Smart.
It's good. And recently we've added all the maps from the Atlas onto the site, so you can, go straight to see where these things come from.
What was the journey that allowed you to become the first non-industry person? So where did
masochism?
What was that? What brought you to wine?
Well, when I was at university at Oxford, I was introduced to wine. Wasn't brought up with wine. My seminal taste was of a red Burgundy, Chambon Musigny Les Amoureuses, 1959, that just
sneaky little
reached those parts that other wine student plonks certainly hadn't. Lived in France for a year, lived in Provence for a year, and was determined after that I would find a job in either food or wine. And at that stage, I didn't mind whether it was food or wine. And I just happened to be offered a job editing a wine trade magazine. Did all the exams leading up to Master of Wine, Wine and Spirit Education Trust sort of thing, and did well in those. And so when the Masters of Wine realised that even MWs are not immortal and that the numbers were going to shrivel unless they opened it up a bit, and they started to open up the exam to people outside the wine trade, they said, oh, go on, have a go. And because I went to one of those schools that churns out people who just have a go the whole time, you can't stop yourself, I did. I was born on a Saturday, and Saturday's child works hard for their living, and I do. That's me, unfortunately. So that's how...
I like that. I've never heard that.
Yes, it's Friday's child is loving and giving, Saturday's child works hard for their living.
I'm dying to find out when
I'm
probably Wednesday.
Probably
Ridiculously
Saturday,
crazy.
I should
You
think.
So? Well, I
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
that. So 1984 you pass, and obviously that must have been big news.
Well, except that I was quite established even already by then.
You've been writing for 9 years.
I've been writing for 9 years. I'd had several books. I'd presented what I think was the world's first TV series about wine, which is called the Wine Program.
Right, that was in the 80s?
That was in the 80s,
early mid-80s, right?
Yeah, I already was, in fact, I'd done one series which had been very popular in Britain. I was filming the second series when I did the exam. And I even said to them, okay, let's incorporate me trying to do the exam as part of the second series, which was a bit of a risk.
You're a media maven.
So I was very lucky that I had a fair wind behind me for that exam, because
Sure.
it's quite tricky to pass the first time. So actually passing, and I was already wine correspondent of the Sunday Times, which is Britain's biggest selling quality newspaper. So I actually stood to lose far more by failing than I stood to
It is a risky
gain
play,
by
right?
passing.
Yeah.
And all my family and friends said, don't, you're crazy. And then when I did pass, I thought, oh, that's good. Obviously, if you're a wine writer, you can pass the Master of Wine exam, no sweat. And so I was a bit nonchalant about it until I saw a few of my colleagues having a go and not managing it.
Sure.
Sounds very uncharitable. And then I realised maybe that was an achievement.
So later on you started getting more excited about it. So you got to walk downstairs a little bit.
Yeah, it's great. Good
Enjoy
fun.
it?
Yeah, I
And-
saw lots of my favourites. Yeah.
So we've got 3 wines here that you chose. What was really fun for me was you, right off the bat, when we got into my office, Ridge. I want a Ridge wine. Tell me what made you jump into that immediately.
Because I think Ridge is wildly undervalued in the whole California wine scene. I think it's a beautiful place. I really respect the fact that they're true to place and have been for so long. They've
never wavered.
They are unfazed by fashion. They just know what they want to do. They have a proper global sensibility. They understand what great European wine is, as well as their own wine. I love the fact that they're so pro-American oak, that unlike most California wine producers...
Sure, the first thing they say, 100% French oak. When you walk in, when I come and taste.
Others, yeah.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah, but Paul Draper at Ridge has been a long-time fan of really well-seasoned American oak, not just any old American oak, because any old American oak can be, I think, pretty nasty. Very sort of sweet and vanilla and in your face.
The oak monster.
Yeah.
You need to be aware of the oak monster.
Yeah. But Ridge, and the single best thing about Ridge, well, there's other good things, lovely labels which haven't changed since they've been going since the late
get-go.
50s, with fantastic, lots of information on the back. Just the sort of thing that wine nerds want to know without being, it doesn't just say fine with meat and cheese or something like that, or, it's always
They'll say,
made from the best.
On October 10th for 3 weeks, I mean, we mixed the varietals, sure.
Yeah. But the single best thing about Ridge is their pricing, which has just not been touched by
Super fair.
the madness that goes on in most of the rest of California.
And the world. There's madness really running rapid everywhere.
Yes, but I think when you stack up a wine list and you put everything in order by price and you mix up all the provenances, California wine, in a world context, is generally overpriced, I have to say. It's because they're lucky enough to be selling in a market which is very well heeled.
Vibrant.
And has lots of people who are quite rightly very proud of their own wines. They can manage to sell them, but they do look very expensive. Well, even in New York, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I feel that there's been 36 to 48 months ago, I felt that had even more street cred. There's been some massive what's happened in Burgundy and Bordeaux has become massive. I mean, when New Zealand has not been bashful about the Pinot Noir at all. Central Otago Pinots are pretty darn pricey.
Yeah.
No, but I think there's merit to that. There's a lot of people going, and I spoke in Napa 7-8 months ago and kind of got booed out of the room because people come to Napa, they buy expensive land, and they put out $150 wine because they were successful in a different business. So you definitely do see, I definitely feel like, I think it's more of a quality shot. I think there's a lot of $70, $80 Cabernets from California running around that are really uninspired.
Yeah, they're not bad. They're
not
technically perfect.
Yeah,
They're absolutely
not
fine,
inspired.
but not inspired.
And they're hidden.
And another thing about California is that yes, there are some fantastic wines at the top, absolutely marvellous wines at the top. Masses of these not the most expensive, but still pretty darn expensive. Okay, but not
Lots
distinctive.
of $40 okay.
There's the very cheap, but there's not much in that exciting area, which is the exciting, where I think the world's best wine value is 8 to 20.
And
yes.
that's why Spain and Southwest France and South Africa and Australia and these countries have come into the U.S. market and dominated. That's why New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc does well. It's like, Chenin Blanc from South Africa is starting to get a fever pitch. It's why Albarino is on fire. I mean, you're right. I mean, we don't, if you look at the scores that I've given when we look on our spreadsheet, it's hard to find. If you told me, show me your best $17 Napa Valley cab.
Well, you see some distressed parcels, don't you, on the bulk market with a
Yes.
special label
Yes.
on. That's
Yes.
that's fine. And yes, you see some Central Coast, some Mendocino, and so on. But as a proportion of the whole that California has to produce, there's not much for the budget-conscious wine drinker, really.
I think at the end of the day, people want to explore too. I think our culture, I notice a lot of people just gravitating towards trying new things. It's not so much that they hate or dislike a $14, Merlot from California. One, I've seen a lot of people go to Washington State. There's a lot of fever around that. But two, people just want to try things. For example, let's get into the first wine.
Can I just say that
Yes.
I was really surprised the other day by the quality of Mondavi Woodbridge Chardonnay 06, which really was, it's not one that on a shelf you go, or on a wine list.
Robert Mondavi Woodbridge
Chardonnay.
The one you can get in a 1.5 litre bottle.
Well, maybe you can.
Yes.
We don't see it. They swear that it's the same blend worldwide, because that's always a problem. I'm sitting in England, I taste it. Is it actually the same?
Sure.
They swear it is. I'm pretty certain it's 06.
And you were surprised by the
I made it a wine of the week on my website, so it's easy to find.
And it's very
it's 06.
very
Very
inexpensive,
inexpensive.
right?
And they've apparently invested a lot in revitalising the winery gear.
We're going to have to put that on the show, Mr. Ryan. Let's get into this, which I'm really excited about. A Santorini from a producer that neither one of us is really familiar with. It's at 21 U.S. bones, Astratico. Why did you decide to pick a Greek white wine today?
Because I think people probably don't instinctively realise how good Greek wine is nowadays, modern Greek wine, and they're probably surprised by what I think is true, that Greek whites are actually probably on balance even better than Greek reds, because you'd think, being that far south and the Mediterranean climate and all that sort of thing, they would be better at reds. But this is a great, great variety, Assertico. I'm expecting lemon and minerals, and it's grown on this amazing volcanic island in the middle of the Aegean.
Argot? So I don't know who Argot is.
No, I don't. They're in a place called Episcopo, presumably something to do with a bishop or something.
I would assume.
And these vines are just incredible. Have you seen them on that island? The way they kind of they crawl across.
Spiders.
Yes,
I call
they're
them spider
spiders.
bites.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
We've talked about Greek white wines in the past. To me, with so many people so fascinated by Pinot Grigio in the U.S. market, is that the same in the U.K. market?
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, Pinot Grigio. I don't want to bash on Pinot Grigio. I'm picking on it for its success, but I'm always sitting here pounding my table to get people to try Valangina and Arnese and Vernaccia and Verdicchio. All these opportunities, and a lot of times I think when my mind goes there, I'm always bleeding into Greek white wines. To me. We sell far more Greek white wines. We've seen people gravitate towards the white wines a lot more. We're drinking this at room temperature, which is a big thing for me. And I asked you that quickly.
I do most of my tasting of white wines at room temperature. Yep. Yeah.
Awesome. So let's rewind the tape from Randall Graham so we can throw down and be like, I got chances. Let's give this a sniffy sniff. Are you ready to do that?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm way ahead of you.
There's protocol here.
Yeah.
Sniffy sniff.
Yeah. I think you may be sniffing it at a better point. My first sniff was a little old socks like, but that's
blowing
that's
off already.
dissipated. Yeah. And so we're getting more into the.
I get a little rubber right off the top, like almost like a tire component.
Yeah.
Which I like quite a bit.
I associate rubber with reduction and screw caps, but.
And screw caps.
Yes, I'm getting more and more odours of reduction on screw capped whites at the moment. Yeah.
For me, there's
I'm not allowed to do that.
No. Chance. I don't know what they taught you at this Master of Wine thing. I'm also getting a lot of lime on this nose.
I certainly get citrus.
What are you getting on this nose?
More lemon and minerals, I think.
And like bluestone?
Something sort of more warm stone. Maybe that's that sort of is it fanciful to think it's those volcanic soils? I don't know, but
do you find that innuendo plays into your thought?
Very much.
Me
so.
too. I get burned all.
Yes,
Remember
yes,
I did that the other. I'm like,
yes.
am I just? What was? Do you remember? It was something silly where it was like so like far fetched, but I was because you know it's on volcanic, you start feeling like you.
Yeah,
I feel
yes,
that too.
Yes, which is not very fair.
No, it's super unfair.
Sorry.
I was also sorry. All right, let's give it a whirl.
But I like it, and it's what I like most about the smell of this is that it's interesting. There's no oak there, but it's really interesting, innate fruit. First time I spat into a Jets bucket, I must
Is that
say.
the first time? Yes,
Oddly
smart.
enough. Now, it's not the best Assyrtiko I've had.
It's got high acid.
It has got high, which is a miracle. It's the great it's the grape varieties attraction.
No question.
Yeah. It would be improved. If I was serving this wine rather
Slightly
than
chilled,
tasting
right?
it, I would definitely chill it, and it
Because
would be
you
better
feel
for
it's gonna hide slightly some of the flaws, right?
Yeah.
A little of the heat.
Yes, yes.
Because it's a little off balance with the heat on the back end. Assyrtiko is really funny to me because I feel that people that really get to play around with it, when Lizzie and I went to Greece 2 years ago, I really, sorry about that, I got all into my own mind. I apologize. I really got to taste through, and it's really fascinating. What I found fascinating was I was impressed by how strong they were across the board. I was really struggling to find something that made me say, oh,
Yeah, that's the cheap one. That's the one that's cut
Exactly.
corners. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a very nice wine. It just hasn't perhaps got quite the follow through of say Sigalas, which I like very much.
Sigalas is crazy.
And I had the 03 the other day that was still holding up brilliantly.
And I had a Sigalas 2000 not too long ago.
I'm sorry, I had a Sigalas 1945.
I had a 40. Now let me ask you a question. On your 20-point scale, which is what you use,
I'm very European, I'm
right?
afraid. Yeah.
What would something like this fall into?
Oh God. 16.
16.
Yeah. 15.5, 16.
Right in that
Something
range.
like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. We're gonna mix it up a little. Let make SS Chris work a little bit. It's a 15.5, 16, buddy. Work that into your little chart. All right, let's move on. I will. I'm actually, but but I'll give mine. Little rinse.
Oh, was I not allowed to do that?
No, you were allowed to do that. I was more excited about the fact that you almost tipped the sherry, which could have created one of the great,
Could have
viral
added
video.
to the stains on this
Absolutely,
rather
and
vile
all over
tablecloth.
that could have been
Considerably.
could have been amazing. So here, what we have is the Ridge 2006 Geyserville, which is a classic blend of 70% Zinfandel, 18% Carignan, 10% Petit Syrah, and 2% Matato, 14.6 alcohol content, 06 vintage, and comes in around 30 U.S. bones, and has been scored by California's Guide to Wine, 90 points.
Did we mention, sorry, with the Assyrtiko, it's only 13% alcohol,
We did not.
which is,
no.
I think, a really useful fact. So it's a
Though
nice...
they're probably playing with a point or two there.
Well,
They're-
maybe, but I don't know. I don't think it's a very high alcohol grape
No, but
variety.
no, it's not. I mean, normally they're listed at 13, 13.5.
Yeah.
But
But
we
if you
did
played
really-
that game, someone that's listing it at 14.5, then that's even more. So
No question.
useful aperitif and nice with food as well.
No question. And really, you know what? At the end of the day, which I'm passionate about, great for people to get to see it on the video and go out there and try one.
Anyone.
Anyone. That's
yeah.
right. Just expand your own palate. All right? Let's see what's going on here color-wise. Pretty color, for sure. Always pretty.
Although, against the green, it's a little not ideal, is it?
Well, you want
don't
white.
mind me saying
Of
so. I
course,
want white.
I know what you want. I, on the other hand, am a Jets fan. You want to like white, that's fine. Let's give it a sniffy sniff.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. This is very aromatic.
Isn't it? It's really quite floral almost,
Very.
isn't it? Sort of violets or something.
Very candy-like. I mean, this,
To me, candy is a negative thing. Candy is something I get on cheap Zinfandel. Or sort of candied, warm berry jelly kind
see,
of.
and in my mind, candy, depending on the candy, for example, Big League Chew or Nerds, could be tremendous. Whereas, candy I don't like, let's say, Bazooka Joe bubblegum, is a problem.
Do you know, if I was served this blind and was just smelling it, I think I might think it was Italian. this.
Primitivo? Or
Yeah,
not?
well, that would be clever, wouldn't it? Since
Yes.
it is.
I was trying to set you up there.
Thank you.
No, it also has such intense strawberry flavors a little bit on the back end for me that, at some level you could tell it wouldn't be, but I would, if I was a little baffled with it, it almost has a Grenache-like nose to me on some of the New World Grenache that I've been smelling out of the Barossa and things of that nature.
Certainly sweet and
Yes.
luscious, isn't
Yes.
it?
Yeah, very. I mean, it's really explosive on the nose.
Yeah. And yet, I think Paul Draper makes Zins and he gets a bit cross when people say, "Oh, Zin doesn't age," and he would claim. I think on the back they say drink in the next 8 to 10 years or something, which is fair enough because I certainly think
And
it doesn't fall over quickly.
It says we'll drink now, will be enjoyable now, but it will be best over the next 8 to 10 years.
And I think they've got the track record. I did a book once which was called Vintage Time Charts, looking at how wine ages, because big bee in my bonnet is that. Because it doesn't make money for producers to research how wine ages.
Can I stop you for a second? Big B in my bonnet. I just love that. Mott went wild. I just had to point out.
Is that not an American expression?
I just feel like some people might have missed maybe the great. I've said a lot of things on this show, but Big B in my bonnet.
Buzz, buzz, buzz.
I understand. Keep going.
It's like a hobby horse. You have
Yes.
a hobby horse? Okay.
Also not here, but
Okay.
that's okay. So, I'm sorry to cut you up. Go ahead.
My bee in my bonnet is that there's not nearly enough research into how wine ages.
At all. People throw numbers 5 to 7 years, 7 to 12 years. I mean, it's like throwing a rubber ball against the wall.
And we're so ignorant. I mean, I try and write these books, and I'm so ignorant about exactly how wine ages. Anyway, so this book was taking a series of paradigm wines, of which this was one, actually, and tasting every vintage over a 10-year span and trying to do a kind of graph of how I hoped and thought they might age. And it certainly showed that this Geyserville aged beautifully. No hurry to drink it, actually. Although it's so gorgeous on the nose, isn't it? Let's see what...
This is what's been always great about Ridge wines to me. They've been really approachable and delicious young, but have also had, to me, actually the single best California wine I've ever had to this point, from a standpoint of completely rocking me out of my chair, was 1991 Ridge Montebello. I think that is still, when I think about California Cabernet,
it is a stunning wine.
and I had this in this big grand tasting with all the, Screaming Eagle this, and Bryant family that, and Harlan this.
It's so subtle, isn't it?
But so, just like...
subtle is good for me.
Of course. Subtle, but I looked at my note at it not too long ago, and my opening line was cool confidence. What I mean?
I often write confident about wines I really like.
Is that
because
right?
They just seem so...
They know what's going on.
At ease in themselves.
Yes.
And not trying too hard.
That's where I was going with it.
We had a seminar for the Masters of Wine in Napa a couple of years ago, and there was one session on quality, and the session was 3 wine writers, me, James Halliday of Australia, and Jim Lobby from The Spectator.
Okay.
And we each had to produce 2 wines, which to us represented real quality. And I was there were 200, the audience was 250 Masters of Wine or equivalent or students, very knowledgeable people. And I was trying to second guess the audience, and I thought they would reckon I would definitely bring 2 European wines and probably Bordeaux or something.
So you were trying to outsmart them.
I was. Trying to shake their prejudices, perhaps.
You were trying to shake things up.
Yeah. And
you wonder whether it's true or not.
So I chose a Montebello 96, which Paul Draper very kindly supplied for this event. And Paul Draper from Ridge was in the audience. And when it was served, it looked beautiful. Obviously, it was young. And I said to the 250, okay, who thinks it's European? Who thinks it's non-European? And of the 250, there was one single person who thought that it was non-European.
Paul.
No, Paul didn't vote. Yeah.
Got it.
Paul didn't vote. And that was a very well-known British wine merchant called John Avery, of a sort of great old wine merchant family, Avery's of Bristol. And I said, John, that's amazing. Well done.
You think
Congratulations.
Avery knew what you were up to? He knows your style.
Well, I found out a few months later, discussing this event with Paul Draper, and I said, that was really clever of John to get that it wasn't Bordeaux, wasn't it? He said, oh no, he said, I had breakfast with him that morning. But I'm just saying that because I don't mean how clever of Ridge to make wines which taste like Bordeaux. I don't buy that at all.
I understand.
But I just think it was clever to make a wine which was so confident and well balanced that it seemed like something as dry as well. You know, not sort of too over the top or too alcoholic.
Have you had California wine in the last 5 years outside of, let's say, Ridge? Have you had a good percentage of wines that have excited you, or not really?
Yes, I mean, I've tasted. I'm very lucky because I get to taste quite a lot of the sort of real, the Harlans and the Screaming Eagles and things like that on my travels, and I admire several of them. Terrific, actually, and I think Screaming Eagle gets a very hard time because so few people have tasted it, and it's so expensive. And so everyone sort of says, "Oh, Screaming Eagle,"
yeah,
and assume that it's way over the top, much more than it actually is. I think
that is true.
But say Harlan, which really is a sort of big monster,
Punch you in the face wine.
Yes, but it is well balanced, and I really admire it. But it's kind of occupying a completely different space from say a Montebello, for instance. Mm-hmm. I like I think Coruscant, for instance, make it very nicely.
I think Kathy is.
Yeah.
I can't believe. Wow, I'm so high on Kathy's
yeah,
wines.
Yeah.
I think she's massively underrated.
Yeah.
Massively. In the U.S. market.
Yeah, Spotswood too. I think they're slightly the same.
And even their Sauvignon Blanc.
Yes,
you
that's lovely.
They're using those cement eggs now.
Oh gosh, everyone's going to be in amphoras before we know it.
It's true. Yeah. It's true.
I would now, buy into the amphora market in a big way if I was into that sort of thing. Yeah.
Are you into that sort of thing?
No, I'm not an investor. No.
Is this slightly over the top for you?
Nope.
No. So the back end, that real push of like hot, like what I get, like jamminess on the back end.
No.
Doesn't bother you?
No. I mean, it would. In that case, I would never have a Chateauneuf du Pape, or maybe a Rhoda or something like that. I mean,
where do you stand on Chateauneuf du Pape? We don't get you here every day, so I'm gonna fling things at you.
I'm very, very enthusiastic. It's funnily enough, people might. I think I probably have a reputation for just liking little mean weedy wines or something. I'm a huge fan of Chateauneuf du Pape. I'm so excited to see how many new producers there are, coming out of the co-op and doing their own thing. Of course, it's again, like Harlan, it's in a completely different space. It's big. I mean, it would be stupid to expect Chateauneuf du Pape to be a light wine. Although, that said, the 2007s are showing brilliantly, and already in British supermarkets, we're seeing quite a lot of early drinking 07 red Chateauneufs, which are delicious, actually. Yep. Again, a different space. They're not the fine, long aging, but they're lovely, and they're not desperately expensive. And the other thing that I'm really, really keen on at the moment is white Chateauneuf du Pape, because I think the quality there has just gone.
Have you always
zooming
I mean,
up.
to me,
no, I used to hate white Rhone in general.
You don't like Grenache Blanc or Roussanne Viognier.
I do
things
now,
of that nature?
but there was a time when I
were they too oily?
Yes, and flabby. Yes.
Yeah, no, they could get goopy.
Whatever you say, yeah.
Say goopy with me, come on.
But no, I think there's more and more really fine Chateauneuf du Pape now, and it's a great alternative to white Burgundy.
No question. I think, how about Loreto? What do you think of that?
Well, that's much zingier and leaner, but that's fun. Yeah.
And how about Pecorino from Italy? Have you tried any?
Yes.
We had one the other day that completely knocked my socks off.
I think I may have a sort of Pecorino.
I got it. Go ahead.
A lack of Pecorino awareness or something. So far, I haven't had a Pecorino that knocked my socks off. Yeah. But I think, Italian white quality is wonderful. That's another miracle that Italian whites now have fruit, which when I started tasting Italian whites, they certainly didn't. No, I don't think this is ridiculously much.
This is obviously.
Gosh, that's a bit.
Yeah, it's gold. Oh, it's very.
Was it like that?
Yes, it was absolutely golden like that right from the get-go.
Oh, it smells good, doesn't it?
It's like 2 days old, right? With cork in it, right? Too. Just curious. I was completely taken aback. I'm like just watching.
Thank you. They must have had a bit of skin contact on that, don't you think?
I think so, for sure.
Yeah. But that's really interesting. Oh, and the name Chabolic, that suggests that maybe they have their Croatian or something like that. And perhaps they're getting the old bug from Slovenia. That
what do you think of that?
I think it's interesting.
I think
it's widening the range of tastes available to us. I can see that it's going to go horribly wrong, and it's a bit like all these chefs in Spain who are copying what Ferran Adrià of El Bulli does and copying it very badly.
And everybody's just going to go in that direction. We see a huge momentum shift. So back to this wine. On your scale, in a good old 20-point scale, where do you go with this?
Okay. Can you let me spit out a mouthful?
I'll jump in first this time. I think there's a lot of bright fruit here. I get a really nice, like, raspberry jammy component that almost has a little herbaceous kick on the finish, which I'm completely falling for. Almost like a black tea, sprinkled into some raspberry jam kind of thing going on, which I like. I like the balance. There's good fruit. This is the kind of wine that I think can appeal to quite a few people. The first thing that actually raced through my head was, just like on a random kick going in outer space, because that's what my brain does sometimes, maybe I'll have a couple of these bottles for Thanksgiving,
There's a nice thought. Drink it.
Drink it. And it's an 06, and I think, by track record, Geyserville 94 still one of my top 25 California wines from that vintage, which was so popular here in the U.S. and one of my first real vintages I wrapped my head around. This is very nice wine. I actually, once again, maybe it's the innuendo of the conversation, but I actually feel like this is kind of like Zinfandel done in the northern Rhone Valley, in a way. There's something that you just...
Well, I suppose we shouldn't forget the Carignan and
the
Petit Syrah
and that's
there.
probably
It is only 70%
Yeah.
in, isn't
So
it? And
that's...
Carignan is a fairly tight variety, or Carignan as it is in California. So maybe that's giving it a little bit more structure.
Yeah. What else? Do you have anything else to add?
No, I just that I think we're drinking it at the first possible point, even though it's really charming and friendly. And I'd be really interested to see...
24 months from now, you'd be real curious?
Yeah, I'd be very, very happy. But I think it's beautifully made.
Yeah, to me, this rolls in that 90-point score. For me,
I think it is not dominated by it. It's quite high. It's 14 plus alcohol, isn't it?
It's contained, though.
But it's very contained.
I think so.
And it's very bright fruit.
And so does this fall into being like a 17?
Yeah, you guessed it. Yes, yeah.
Do I want to... I would say I'd want a cookie, but you brought me two cookies
I did
when you
bring
came
you
into the
two
car.
cookies
so I was
from the
excited
modern,
about
yeah.
that. That's right. All right, let's move into the final thing and tell all the Maniacs why we went in this direction. I'm thrilled you did this. This is, I haven't really touched the subject matter in a while. I'm dying to hear it. This is a little rinse, yep.
Lovely.
Yep.
Well, it's sherry. And sherry is one of the wine world's great undervalued treasures.
Massively, right?
Massively. Oh, I can smell it already. It's lovely. And it is $11, $10 to $11. $11.
And the dollar's not super strong these days, so imagine.
It's just ridiculous.
And screw top, by the way.
A screw top, very useful. And when I started writing about wine in prehistory in the 70s, sherry was on a roll. And I was always going to Jerez. But then when Spain joined the European Common Market, they no longer got export subsidies and the whole thing collapsed. And so poor old sherry in Jerez has been in the doldrums. But I went back to Jerez for the first time in April and tasted
For the first time
in about 20 years. We made one of our wine programs down there in the 80s. So
first time you were in Jerez
in 20 years. Yeah,
wow.
It's terrible, isn't it? And of course it's stunning, and there is such a lot of good wine down there. And this is...
Now, they want this chilled. Do you normally taste at room when you evaluate still? I do. I'm just curious if you do.
I think normally, yes. And it's pushing it with this particular style of wine,
question.
which really, really needs to be chilled.
The manzanilla, sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because it's a fairly low acid wine, generally, sherry, unless you've kept it in barrels for decades. So it does help to chill it. And this, if ever you lose your appetite and you've got a great big Thanksgiving meal ahead or something like that, and you think, can I possibly stuff another morsel of food in? Just a drop of manzanilla or Fino sherry. Those are the two light, dry styles of sherry. Just gets the appetite going, don't you think?
In your body.
Mm.
Real, I'm gonna definitely try it once I'm pigging out on I really like White Castle sliders, and I think that if I can't eat another one, I'll whip out a bottle of sherry, drink it, and then eat another 30 or 40.
What's that?
Sliders, very small hamburger type characters.
Uh-huh.
It's not like a bee in a bonnet, but they're still fun. All right, so let's give this a sniffy sniff. Aromatically, these wines are so fun.
And although that one is not the freshest I've had, I'm afraid, Gary.
Well,
now
I didn't make it, so I'm not emotionally attached.
No, it's quite a badge, isn't it, for a retailer to keep the turnover and the stock going on these wines, because they don't last all that well in bottle. You want to bottle them and sell them in a few months.
Yeah, I mean,
ideally in about 4 months. And
I'm not sure from a supplier standpoint when they did this. You know, obviously.
Well, it does have a lot number on
Yep.
the back, and I think this is quite easy to read. I think the lot number is 08044.
So you think it's
I would
you think it's August of 2004?
No, I would even think it could be
January, March,
April of 08,
Okay.
and it's
better
just
than 2004.
Yes.
That's real old.
Yes, but I think it's probably
So in your mindset, sherry should be consumed within how quickly?
well, my guru, my sherry guru, is a
Yep.
wonderful professor of criminology at the University of Granada, Jesus Barquin, and
My professor of video is Christopher Mott, so I hope you'd like to meet him.
And
Okay, and he's
Jesus says the common perception is that Manzanilla and Fino should be drunk the minute they come off the bottling line. He says actually they're probably at their best about 4 months.
4 months.
4 months. So August.
So
this
if you
was
were,
perfect.
This was perfect. So now that we're sitting in basically late,
Yes.
basically
It's
November,
just-
we missed it.
You need
I
to.
mean, we missed it. At the end of the day, we missed it.
Yeah, you've got to discount it even further. Get rid of it.
Well, I'll
and
sell it.
get-
You know, we're making only 99 cents, so we're not tearing up the house with it. All right,
But you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not quite got that searing
I'm
marine freshness.
I'm not sure that I've had enough experience with sherry at that point, that quickly, that I could even go there. I mean, I went there 4 or 5 years ago. It was an in and outer. It's definitely a subject matter and a category I need to spend more time on.
Because it's complicated. It's
super
completely
complicated.
different from table wine.
And I just, to me, I'll be honest with you, I don't get so devastatingly hung up on, 6 months in oak, 9 months in oak, rules of what the blends are. I want to live the tasting life, and so for me, now you've got me all jazzed up. Mott, we got to go there and taste it off the bottle wine. And then wait another 4 months, taste it again, and then taste it.
Well, you're allowed to drink it any time in the first 4 months off the bottling line.
That's what he says, within that, got it.
Yeah.
And so is that something you try to pay attention to when you do that?
Yes, but what's difficult? I mean, I think I'm reading this lot number correctly, but
It would make sense.
Not
It's
all
a lot better than the
producers.
2004 idea I had.
But not all producers will tell you when it was bottled.
Well, that's
so,
a really good job by
you know,
these guys.
Yeah.
But
it's something I suppose the retailer has to ask the supplier.
Sure.
And the supplier has to be honest and
crap,
all
we're in
that.
big trouble here in the U.S. because by the time he gets over here,
I know. Your distribution system.
the stuff's over there. You just grab your nice little car right over and start drinking.
Yeah.
I got to sit here and wait for that container to get over here. All right, let's give this a shot.
So
you're saying on the palate we can see how that dullness comes in.
little bit, but we're getting a little bit of saltiness, and
which is fun.
Which is fine. Which is
which
great.
is what I love.
Which is good, and it is tingling the old taste buds as far as I'm concerned.
But on the mid palate, you see a little bit of that flabbiness. And are you telling me that you feel that if this was 3 to 4 months earlier, that there would be a little bit more of a concentration, a little bit more of an acidic balance to that?
A bit more focus, but I think it's particularly on the nose where there's just a little, just the start of oxidation. Perhaps.
I understand.
Yeah. Not seriously bad, but this is not.
This actually reminds me of a cracker, like a saltine.
Oh right.
A little bit on the palate.
Yeah.
When I tasted it, it just kind of, and it's got a very interesting.
I mean, what
now I'm all freaked out. Now I want to go there and just taste. I want to. I mean, because. Have I been deprived my whole life of real life sherry?
Yeah, and it's so delicate, and it's like a very very fine Riesling. That sort of tingle, tension.
Have you spent so when you went, this was the first time you went in 20 years. Were you able to taste through a lot of stuff?
Yeah. Yes, because Jesus wanted to taste every single barrel, every single butt, and every single Solera. Because that's his thing.
And did you find a new appreciation for it?
I've been a fan constantly. It's just there was no work reason to go there because the poor old market has been shrivelling. But I think it's on the up and up again, thanks to people like Jesus, who's beating the drum for it.
Where is Jesus? Where is he beating the drum?
He's writing really good stuff in that magazine, World of Fine Wine.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So that's
which is a start. He's also with a friend who actually works for Valdespino, who now own La Guita, the string.
Yep.
They have done this great thing of special tiny little lot bottlings. They go and they do taste every barrel. They select the barrel.
That barrel.
And they bottle it. And it started off
under something.
Yes, La Botta de, La Bota de, always numbered. And they're connoisseurs sherries. They're just the creme de la creme, you know.
And you tasted some of those?
Yes, and
were you
they
blown
are
away?
stunning. Absolutely
Were you like
stunning.
on the ground like, this is the greatest moment
I
of my
don't
life?
do that.
I
Gary.
understand.
Yeah.
I respect that, Jancis.
And those floors in Jerez are very dusty. And,
Right, and
yes,
you know, when you wear beautiful outfits like this,
you don't want to
purple,
be
I understand.
lying on the floor.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and sometimes damp as well. They keep the
Yeah, you don't want to get
damp-
wet.
No,
You
no,
catch a cold and you get to miss out on
But they
tasting
are really, really good, and so I think he's being a major force for re-energizing. But he's not the only one. There is actually a new generation of small bodegas who are buying up great old Soleras of lovely, lovely wine, and then trying to sort of re-offer it in a sort of more exciting way.
There's a blog, I think it's called Contavino, who's doing a nice job bringing a lot of attention to the sherry market. So I think definitely there's, you know, a lot going on with that. I'm really now kind of like in my head zinging in, like I want to get under this 4-month threshold. I feel like
and
I've
of course,
been
I mean, this is just
tricked.
Fino and Manzanilla is just
Sure.
one style.
Of
There are these
course.
stunning old dry Amontillados, dry Olorosos,
All day
dry
long.
complex wines, tawny colour, beautiful
Creamy.
with cheese and nuts and all that sort of thing.
Are you a
Plus-
big cheese fan?
I love cheese. Yeah.
Addicted?
I'm offered not nearly enough cheese in this country.
We've got plenty downstairs. Did you get to look at the section? Or
Yeah,
not?
I smelt it the minute I
Nice.
walked in.
That's the game. Cahuto just got pumped. That's what was always.
No, but I just think I often miss that cheese course, you know, after the main course. And
At the restaurants here in the US.
yes, you're sort of straight into the chocolate cheesecake.
You're like, where's the cheese?
Yes, I like cheese very much.
Jancis, one of the great traditions of our guests is they get to ask the question of the day to the Vayner Nation.
All right.
So, any kind of question doesn't necessarily have to be about wine.
I ask a question.
Yes, you ask them a question. They will leave comments. I'll send you the link. You'll be able to read the answers to your question. I have a very big gut feeling that the lurkers, as I call them, the people that don't comment, are going to come out for a legend like you. So, you know, maybe you want to ask them about anything you like. Fire away.
But is it a test question? Like people?
Yes,
really
ask them the toughest. No, it is not a test question. It's
more,
an opinion poll.
It's something I see. Oh, I
Yes.
see. Okay.
But
okay.
you can ask them the real tough wine question. Why not?
Okay.
But opinion poll.
Right.
If you had a
Okay.
curiosity from the people that are
right.
watching, you know.
Okay, right,
what
here's
would
a
you-
question. I'll tell you. My question is, because when I announced on my website that I was going to be on Wine Library, my forum got quite excited, and a few people said, "You're mad. You're mad. This is a very bad idea. This guy, you know, who's just doing this silly wine nonsense." So, was it a good or a bad idea, me coming on Wine Library TV? That's my question.
This is why she's the best. You, with a little bit of me and legends, my friends, like this, we're changing the wine world. Was it a good idea?
I enjoyed it.
Awesome.